I'm back again pretty soon compared to normal. I am going to do some pyrography, or what most people know as wood burning, but I'm going to do it on paper. So this is watercolor paper. See how thick it is? It's just Canson watercolor. It's 9 by 12. I put it through my printer and I printed these kitty cat mandalas. I printed 2 of the same thing because when I'm done doing the burning, I'm going to do a little bit of color and then laminate them and turn them into journal covers for disc-bound journals. So I'm going to do 2 of the same. On the pyrography for paper, you use a very low setting. So, this is my machine. I have a Coalwood detailer with the 1 pen only. I've had it in here heating up. Right now I have it on a 3, which I think is good for burning. It's been a while since I burned on paper, so I can't remember. So we may have to reset it some. I'm going to tip the camera down so you can see the paper while I burn. And I'm just going to trace the printed lines with the pen. So it is not burning. So we're gonna have to turn it up a little bit. So let's turn it up to a 5. Normally when I do soft wood, I do an 8. A lot of times you'll see people online when they're burning and their wood burning is just smoking and they're getting these thick, heavy black lines. You don't have to do that. That is definitely a style choice. It is not necessary. While I'm waiting on this to heat up, I'll show you. I have quite a few pens. These are called pens. This one that I have here is a ball tip. Not really sure. And this is a medium ball tip. I also have the tiny ball tip and the large. I believe there is also an extra large, but I don't have that one. This one is a writing tip. When you hold it, it's almost like writing with a pen or a pencil. I also have some other tips, some flat tips and chisel tips that I don't really use too much. Once I got the ball tips, that was pretty much my go-to for everything. Normally when I burn on wood, I use my laser printer to print out what I want to burn. And then I have a flat tip on a different burner that I use to iron the pattern onto the wood. Laser printers work by heating up the powder and melting it on the paper. So basically when you iron it, you're melting that same ink powder onto the wood, and then you just burn over it. This was printed on my inkjet on my Epson Eco Tank. So this is going to take a little bit more to get through, and it may burn with a smell versus the burning on wood. You get the wood smell. I usually go around 2 or 3 times. It's hard to tell. I did these 2 circles right here. It's really hard to tell that there's any difference I may have to go up another notch. And also sometimes the tip will get dirty. And if the tip gets dirty, a lot of people use steel wool to scrub it off. I don't have all of my stuff out right now due to the recent move, so I may have to just get a scrap piece of paper and scrub it off on that. So I'm going to start with more of these small areas. And the pen will continue to heat up until it gets to the temperature I set it at. And you can feel the heat around here. You never want to touch anything up here because this is in the hundreds of degrees. When you get it up to a 10, I think it's like 1,000 degrees or something. So you definitely never want to get that anywhere near your hands. And with this machine, when you want to change the tips, you have to turn it off, wait for it to cool, and then take the tip off so that you don't damage it, potentially damage it. Usually when I print on the watercolor paper prior to burning it, I print it very light. I'll do like a gray or something, but I forgot to do that this time, and so I'm having to burn through all of this ink as well as the paper. And I may turn it up one more notch because as you can see, it's not burning through onto the back. I like to use coloring book pages for a lot of my burns. I'll also use vintage clip art or vintage kind of advertising stuff that is no longer in copyright. These pictures here came from Dover, who does royalty-free and copyright-free pictures, so I don't ever worry about using their pictures on stuff that I might eventually sell. I have a whole box or basket full of things that I have burned that I need to seal and then figure out what I'm going to do with. Most of them are ornaments, so eventually I'll maybe next year try and do a holiday bazaar or holiday craft festival and sell ornaments. Ornaments are kind of hard to sell online because shipping makes them stupidly expensive, and nobody wants to buy a $5 ornament and then pay another $5 to ship it. I'm not Hallmark. I don't know that I could convince somebody to pay me $20 for an ornament. I did buy a Dover coloring book that is made to look like old school lino cuts or wood cuts, and it's all vintage Western movie stars. And so I want to get some wood canvases. They sell them at Michael's and places like that. You buy the wood canvas, and then I want to burn those on the wood canvases. I think that would look really great. So as you can kind of see, hopefully that's coming through, there's a brown color to the circles now versus the black. So I've done all of these circles. I still have to do these and finish these. I think I'm going to turn it up to 6 just to make it hopefully go a little bit faster. You can see that maybe 6 was a little too high right there because I get a little bit of shadowing or scorching. But I think I'm going to leave it on 6 just to burn through this ink. Also, I can smell it now where it's scorching the paper. Okay, let's start with this guy here. You should be able to just glide the pen along. If you're digging in to get your lines, then you need to turn your heat up, because it should just burn the surface. There shouldn't be an indentation unless you're burning really, really hot and getting all that smoke that I talked about earlier. I've also seen a new thing on TikTok where people are burning felt hats. They're burning really pretty designs into felt hats. I get the idea, but as someone who grew up in the country and knows how expensive felt hats are, it seems almost blasphemous that they're just burning them. I'm guessing though they're probably using pretty cheap blanks, and then they're getting their price for them with the designs and all the stuff that they're tying on them and attaching to them. They are pretty. I've seen quite a few of them that are gorgeous, but I don't understand it, and I'm not a hat girl. I think I look weird in hats, even caps. And I am going to have to turn the fan on. So I'll set this down on this clip and turn the fan on. And I don't know I don't think you could see the mess on this table, but something was sitting on it in our garage and made like a horrible, like a stain spot on it. You should always do wood burning in a well ventilated area. And there's a lot of stuff you shouldn't burn. I saw people doing chipboard, and so I decided to try that. And I bought these tags that look like gift tags, and I burned a fairy on it. Well, the fairy had a lot of black areas because it was supposed to look like stained glass, and I made myself very sick. Very, very sick. I basically had like a cold for months. So I don't burn on chipboard anymore. The other thing is, though, you're supposed to do it in a ventilated area, but if you have a fan, a lot of times the fan will cool your tip off. So it's, you know, one thing or another, but my eyes were starting to burn a little bit, so I think I needed to turn the fan on. And if I have to, I can go up another notch because of the fan. I really don't want to. Okay, so I'm going to continue working on this, and as I work on it, I will film, but I will stop this section of the video and then start another one of all the burning and speed that up, because this is probably going to take me more than a day to finish. Okay, so I've finished everything I'm going to do with this medium tip. So I'm going to lay it down. So I've done all of the cats. And now I need to do the border and these little eyes right here. So I'm going to switch to the largest ball tip. All of my pins are in these tubes. When you buy individual pins, they come in the tubes, but when I bought my kit, the original pins I got did not, so I bought more tubes. It helps protect them from banging into each other and protects the wires. As you can see, it's just wires, and then this part could be replaced, but it's really not a good idea. And then this is like the end on a stereo equipment. So I'm going to turn this off. And this has to cool, so we'll leave it be for now. I went and got a piece of sponge and wet it and put it in a glass bowl so I could wipe the tip off of the pen, because it was starting to get some gunk on it from doing like the eyes and some of the other places where I had to go over it several times. So these little eyes here, I'm going to go over with the bigger pen, and I'm going to fill this whole area in. And then when that's done, we'll add some color, and then I'll do the other one off camera. Okay, so now they are both fully burned. And I picked this paper to go on the back. It's got some shimmer to it. Hopefully that comes out. So this paper is going to go on the back. So I chose these two greens to add accents to these pictures. I think I'm going to do the little rugs, or I guess they're not rugs, they're the little thought bubbles. I'm going to do those in these greens. This is watercolor paper, so the color pencils are definitely going to pick up all that texture of the watercolor paper. I thought about using markers, but markers really soak into the watercolor paper, or they're very streaky on the watercolor paper, and I did not want that. So I guess it probably would have made more sense to do these in blue or purple, because those are more dream colors usually. But that green paper is the first paper I came upon that I thought I liked, that I had 2 sheets of. So green it is. My pencil sharpener is over here on the side, so 1 second. Oh, it shoots up. One more. Alright, so I'm going to color the other one and then I'll be right back. Okay, now they're both colored, so I'm going to stick them down onto here. I'll try and make sure I get the stripes going the same direction. I'm going to use just a tape gun because once these are laminated, they're never coming apart. Honestly, I'm not sure why people love this tape gun. It's quite awful. Try and center it just so the stripes will be kind of straight on the back, hopefully. Sometimes I wonder if I'm using this thing wrong because it gets stuck so often. Okay, so I did the cutting off screen because I ended up just using a pair of scissors. The both knives that I had and the cutter just weren't working, so I ended up just using a pair of scissors. So now we're going to put them in the laminating sheets. These are what they call menu size, so they're 11 by 17, I believe, which is the closest size to a 9 by 11. I'm going to try and get them similarly in here so that when I'm cutting, I can cut them at the same time, because I've had trouble with some of the other covers I've done getting the front and back to match. So it looks like this one needs to come over some more. pretty close. This one needs to go up more in that corner. Alright. Now as you can see, there's a lot of extra on here. I haven't been cutting that off, but I think, oh, there's a hair. No, it's not a hair, it's a scratch. Okay. For this one, I'm gonna cut the majority of this off, but I'm gonna go to my cutter and cut it off. That way it's less to go through the machine. Okay, so I got these cut. Now there's only a little bit extra on the bottom. And I have these pieces that I'm gonna save because these will be good for bookmarks or stuff like that. I went ahead and started the machine. It has multiple settings up here. So I put it on 10 mil, and once that quits blinking, then we'll be ready to go. Alright, so we're ready to go. We're going to put the sealed end first. It goes pretty fast considering how thick the material is. Thinner material obviously goes faster. I had this on the shelf over there, but then when the laminate is coming out, it curls a little bit and you can't get that curl out. This paper is very thick, so it's going to leave quite a bit of border around the outside, which I don't know that I'm going to like. Now we're going to lay this to the side and let it cool. Sorry about the dogs. Either my husband is home or the Amazon man is here. So I'm going to turn the machine off and go see why the dogs are barking. Okay, so I see one thing I did wrong. I forgot to round the corners before I laminated it. But as you can see here, dear, you may not be able to see. All of this space right here is air because of how thick this paper is. So on the side, this side's pretty good, so we'll probably use this side for the binding part on the bottom down here. It's pretty thick, so we'll have to see. This one, the thick bad part is on this side, and this side over here is a little better. But once again, I forgot to round the corners. And because of the thickness of paper, we have a lot of air space. So now, we're gonna go over here to this giant paper cutter. This paper cutter takes up most of my desk. It is really cool though because it has this that goes up and down. I think I'm going the wrong way. So it goes up and you put all your paper under there, and then you put this down and it holds it straight. This piece right here is supposed to be the stop, but for some reason this piece is not straight. So if you use this, everything is crooked. For how much space this takes up, plus how expensive it was, I'm really not impressed with how crooked everything is that you get out of it. I know part of it's me, but this fence right here has a little bit of a gap under there where if you're doing less than a few pages, one page will get stuck there. This is not straight. No matter where you put it, it doesn't get straight unless you really, really try. And then even after you crank it down, you still have to hold on to it. This was like $250 or $275. So for that price, I expect it to work. The only reason I bought this was to cut the 10 mil laminate. I don't need anything that does this much paper. You can put an entire ream of paper in here and supposedly it'll cut it. I've never tried it. But I needed the pressure and I needed the size for the 9x11 covers. I could have gotten the smaller size, but it would not cut a 9x11. The biggest it would cut, I believe, it might have cut 9x11, but that was like the max. So I wanted something that would cut a little bit bigger, but my brain did not compute how big this was going to be when I bought it. Also, because I'm going to be cutting a different amount off of each one every time I make it, I had to draw a line over here on this red piece with the blade down so I could see where the blade cuts. So, I'm turn a little more light on. So hopefully I'll be able to see. And I'm going to line the two bubbly sides up together and the two thinner sides up together. We're going to line these up. We're going to place them up against the bar. Line up the covers themselves. And then we have to leave enough space to where the bubble, to where there will be enough to cut without cutting into the bubble. So we're going to try this here. And once these are laminated, they're done. So there's no pulling them back apart and trying again. So push this down, pull this, snap, put it back up. Make sure this catches. A lot of times I won't put my fingers in there. I'll just use it to push. I'll use the this to push it out. So as you can see, we have plenty of room on this one. Decent amount of room on this one. But like I said, even though I lined it up, they're still not straight. So now we're gonna line this side up. This side has the bubble, so I have to make sure I don't cut through the bubble. So we did not cut through the bubble, so we're good there. These look pretty good. We may have to do some more trimming on this side over here, because I just don't like the way that looks. I guess it's not too bad. Alright, so now we just gotta do the bottom. Let's see, the bottom also has a little bit of a bubble on it. So really, I'm just eyeballing this most of the time. And hoping for the best. Oops. So that came out pretty good. So the green is the inside. So we have a lot of space over here where the bubble is. So I'm probably going to do the hole punching on this side. As you can see, there's quite a bit of difference over here. So I'm going to line this up and cut it again because I want the covers to be the same size. And this is just on faith here, so. Alright, so now they look pretty good. So now we will make sure there's nothing in there. This has a lock, so as long as the lock is engaged, should be fine. You heard the snap, that's why I needed something that would cut this, especially that one I just cut 2, normally I only cut 1. Okay. I have the We Are Memory Keepers Crocodile Corner Chomper. I don't know that it does a great job, but it will cut through this, and that's what I was worried about. I also don't feel like you always get it in there straight, even though it has these arms. I don't always feel like you're getting the best, like there's not, see that one doesn't look nearly as good as this one. There's still a way to mess it up even though there shouldn't be. because it should just slide in there and that's it. But no, sometimes you can hold it a little bit crooked. I don't know. Maybe I'm not as good at this as I think at crafting as I think I am, or maybe I just expect too much out of my tools. But this thing wasn't cheap either. I think it was around $30. And the only reason I bought it is because I tried all the ones I already had and nothing would cut through this laminate. So, we've now decided that we're going to cut our holes for the discs on this side. And so this will be the front and this will be the back. And then we'll have the shiny paper on the inside. This is the arc disc punch. The ones that are made by Happy Planner, which I have, will not cut through more than 1 or 2 sheets of paper. I actually thought I broke one of my Happy Planner punches trying to punch more than that. So right now it is on letter. So we need to move it to A4, I believe. And that gets us decent amount from the top and bottom. Crunch. And we have our little mushrooms. These mushrooms are not quite as deep as the Happy Planner ones, but they work just as good. Alright. So there we go. Front and back. Now let's get some discs. We'll use this Happy Planner here, and I'll show you. This Happy Planner is really full. But these are the Happy Planner discs, and as you can see, it goes just fine. It's a little bit off from the original Happy Planner cover. You can see here the difference in the size, because the Happy Planner cover, they punch into the design, which normally I would as well, but because of how thick this paper and the bubble, we had to punch outside the design. Personally, I don't feel like that's an excess amount because it covers everything good. That would definitely be something for the end customer to decide if they didn't like the way it looked. So this is the first time I've ever done a Pyrography cover, and honestly I think it'll probably be the last time I do one, only because the paper is so thick it made this huge bubble over here, and the only way I might be able to do it is if I didn't do a design on the back, or a separate sheet of paper on the back, because this scrapbook paper was actually pretty thick. So I might be able to print my design on the front, burn it, and then put it back through the printer and print a design on the back so that there was only one sheet of paper instead of two. But that will be an idea for another day. Thank you for watching. And this will go up in my Etsy shop hopefully pretty soon. Thank you.